But these service members are following in a great and storied military tradition, from protecting frontier communities to chasing outlaws and bandits and the...
Get that taken care of. There we are. In fact, let me, let's see here. We're going to just make sure that that does not happen again. Apologies for that. Hello, everyone. My name is 𝐒𝐚𝐬, and this is The Rundown. It's always been amazing to me how conservatives are for fiscal responsibility, and they talk about being thrifty when it comes to money, except when it comes to military spending, where apparently there's no off button. They literally will spend money when the Pentagon says, we don't need more things. Please do not give us any more things. And we say, oh, no, you need more. You need and the Bradley. Oh, dear Lord. At any rate. So, apparently, it's really just, both sides are for spending as much money as they can. It just depends on what they want to spend it on. The amount of money that has been spent on this already, first of all, the photo op and sending all of the generals to Quantico so that, where they could have easily gotten an email. So pomp and circumstance apparently are important things to spend money on, not starving people, but okay. The biggie that we're facing right now is military redeployments, how and why we'll get into in a second. As we know, Trump has called a number of cities in the U.S. war-ravaged, and worse than in anything you'll find in Afghanistan, yada, yada, yada. It is absolutely preposterous. I've been listening to discussion on what constitutes a cult. And one of the first things they say is the idea that the leader can, through an utterance, make void any objective reality. Every American knows that there isn't a war-ravaged city in this country. There isn't an American that doesn't know that. And yet, for MAGA, it's like, yeah, Chicago, New York, these are war-ravaged. All right. Tell me it's not a cult. At any rate, so what's going on now is, and he's been in violation of several judicial orders. He doesn't usually seem to care, and it doesn't look like there's much anybody can do to stop him. But having said that, we're going to talk about the ones that he now either is in violation of or appears to be in violation of, or doing three-card Monty, find the Queen, trying to move troops around to avoid being in violation of. So let's talk about why he's deploying the troops and where there's the biggest problem first, which is Chicago. He's deploying the troops because he wants to turn these into war-ravaged streets. He wants the photos of the violence because then he can blame liberals. That's why he only sends them in general to liberal cities until Tennessee finally said, we have the worst crime rate. Do you mind sending them here? Tennessee actually asked for them. And he's like, oh, yeah, sorry. There's crime there. I forgot. So it was Memphis, I think. So at any rate, this is what he wants to see, and he wants to do this to politicize and grab more power. Now, for some reason I cannot fathom, conservatives have a tendency to think that more police is always a good thing, and it simply isn't. You get more abuse of power. You get weaponized compliance. Oh, this person is jaywalking. Let's beat them up with 16, officers. And this is what happens. The more police you have, there's a happy medium for the number of police you need. And we know this because we've actually been at that medium, like most Western countries, for a very long time. Suddenly adding an influx of police who are untrained, as certainly the ICE agents are, who are in some cases looking for trouble and have been told that they can find trouble and are expected to find trouble. And this from a president who has now said that these are war-torn streets, that they must clean them up. So they have quotas. They have to bring in somebody. Where are they going to get these people from if they're not just attacking people out on the street? And this isn't to say that there aren't protesters who start shit too. There are. And this isn't to say that there isn't, people, undercover agents inside the protesters starting shit too. It gets complicated real quick. You want to know how to prevent this kind of thing? Keep the troops out. It's really not that hard. At any rate, Chicago is not yet to the point of police cars burning in the streets, but I suspect strongly we're going to be seeing that reasonably soon if things don't turn around. In Portland, which Trump called a, quote, war-ravaged city, he attempted to deploy 300 Portland National Guards to, quote, protect the ICE facility. Now, the problem is what he says and what he's actually intending to do are two very different things. You don't need 300 National Guard to protect the ICE facilities, and in fact, he said that he is sending them into the city itself, the city of Portland. The ICE facility is 1 square block. I think the city of Portland is several hundred by several hundred blocks. It's two different things. You don't need 300, and the police are already covering it, and there have been protests there, but they were completely fine until you started seeing national troops show up. So he has said that he's going to deploy 300 to war-ravaged Portland to clean up the streets. This immediately faced a legal challenge. Now, this was a restraining order while the legal challenge gets through court. How do these restraining orders work? They're basically what's called a TRO, a temporary restraining order. It is a restraining order that stops someone from doing something until the matter can be settled in court. The reason TROs are issued is because they sometimes a situation is so dire that if you wait until a decision is made by the courts, you're going to have some kind of negative outcome if the decision doesn't come fast enough. So a TRO can be issued in those cases. Now, in a TRO, you have to demonstrate A, that you're likely to win, B, that there is grievous harm that will be caused if you don't wait for the case to go through. And there's a C that I can't remember, but you have to clear several bars. The judge granted the temporary restraining order in this case yesterday, saying that Trump may not federalize and deploy the Portland National Guard to, quote, protect Portland. Let's hear what this judge said in this case, and this is very important. The district judge said that the city of Portland, in its objection, is likely to succeed on all the claims that the president has exceeded his constitutional authority and violated the 10th Amendment. Also goes on to say that likely violated posse comitatus. And just in the actual ordering of the deployment has already violated the Constitution. A recent incident cited by the Trump administration of protesters clashing with federal officers are, quote, inexcusable, but are nowhere near the type of incidents that cannot be handled by local, regular law enforcement forces. The Trump administration made a range of arguments that, if accepted, risk blurring the lines between civil and military federal power to the detriment of this nation. This was, by the way, a Trump appointee appointed during Trump's first term. The restraining order is for 14 days, but it will likely be extended. Let's see. The Trump administration has been pointing to increased civil unrest in the face of these deployments as evidence that the deployments are needed. The state has called the president's portrayal of Portland as, quote, war-torn, quote, wildly hyperbolic. I've said from the beginning that the number of federal troops that are needed or wanted is 0, said Portland Mayor Keith Wilson. Let's see. The city attorney said that what was happening in Portland was actually a problem of perception versus reality. The president's perception is that it's World War II out here. The reality is it's a beautiful city and a sophisticated police force that can handle the situation. The judge sided with the Oregon attorney, saying that there's substantial evidence that the protests at Portland ICE facility are not significantly violent. As the president had said, they also asked why they're going on. The only evidence of this being a war-torn city is Donald Trump's Truth Social post. Quote, a social media post is going to count as a presidential determination that you can send the National Guard to cities? I mean, is that really what I should be relying on? The judge asked the defense. These posts reflect his decision making, which Secretary Hegseth carried out, was the response by the federal government, which dodges the question. How do we know it's war-torn? Where's the evidence that this had to be done? There is none. It's a liberal city. The court of law is meant to be based in fact, not on social media trolling and gossip. So I thought it was very illustrative for this administration to quote social media as facts to a judge, said the prosecuting attorney. Let's see. They also made some comparisons to California, and this is going to be important. Now, in California, he's already deployed a number of troops. He received a temporary restraining order there. That is still working its way up through the courts, but the general consensus was, let's see, a federal judge, where did that go? The California National Guard was found to be likely deploying the Guard in California, also illegal. He deployed National Guard, and I think it was 300 Marines. So what this judge said here was that, in essence, neither the outside Portland ICE facility or anywhere inside Portland is there any unlawful activity akin to what was in Los Angeles leading up to June 7th, 2025, which is when he deployed to Los Angeles, which has already been found by another court that is on appeal, but has been found to be illegal. So he violated the law in California just by issuing the order to federalize the Oregon National Guard. He has already violated at least the 10th Amendment and posse comitatus. So this judge is said likely has. This judge doesn't make that determination, just makes the determination of who's likely to win in order to decide whether or not the temporary restraining order should be issued. Let's see. Pritzker said, this morning the Trump administration's Department of War gave me an ultimatum. Call up your troops or we will. It's absolutely outrageous and un-American to demand a governor send military troops within our own borders and against our will. Now, again, Trump has said already that his war on narco-terrorism is going to be fought mainly domestically. So I think this is a preview of his attempt to gain more and more control and get us used to the idea of him deploying national troops inside the United States. Having said that, they compared, they said this isn't even as bad as California, which he has lost. Even if he hadn't, there is no evidence that the police cannot handle this, and there is no grounds for a so-called, there's no grounds for military deployment. The judge said that this essentially was, reminded everybody that this is a constitutional democracy, not a martial law democracy. So, also, let's see, the judge said the president's determination is simply untethered to the facts. The protests were small and uneventful. The White House has said it's going to appeal. We're done. Except that the National Guard is now moving into Portland, Oregon. Wait a minute, I thought there was a restraining order. There is. A restraining order has been successfully granted, and Trump may not federalize the Portland National Guard and send them in. So he is taking the California National Guard, which has already been federalized, and he is going to send them to Oregon. Now, he is currently under a restraining order with them not to use them in California. But it doesn't say he can't use them in Oregon. So what he's doing is, in Oregon, where they have said he may not deploy the Oregon National Guard, he's going to deploy the California National Guard, who are ready to go but cannot be deployed in California, according to the judge in California. So he's moving 300, at least 300, California National Guard who have been told they may not deploy, but it was explicitly to California because that's the state where this was issued. He's going to send them to Portland. Now, the Portland restraining order did not restrain him against all military action, just against specifically nationalizing the Oregon National Guard. It is clear, the reason I read to you so much of that order is because the reasoning still applies. It doesn't matter where he gets the troops from, the reasoning still applies. The judge's entire line of reasoning would be completely identical if the troops came from Timbuktu. It doesn't matter. The reason the scope was so narrow is because the restraining order was against a very specific attempt. So now they're going to have to basically file another restraining order if they can. But our understanding is the 300 National Guard from California are already there. So what he is doing is, when he is being told he cannot deploy troops to a certain state, he nationalizes them and sends them to another state. When he gets told that he can't send these troops there, he's going to nationalize them from Washington. I don't know. The number, and this is the other problem, is he also wants the courts to be completely blocked with these are all TROs, by the way. We haven't even had the hearing on whether or not this is legal. This is just a TRO that said it's almost certainly illegal, so you get your TRO. And it has to be renewed in 14 days. And there's going to be a hearing on whether or not it's actually legal because Trump gets his due process. So now they're going to have to file another TRO against these 300. The United States of America needs a TRO against its own president at this point. Just he's not allowed to deploy anybody anywhere. It's actually called posse comitatus, but that isn't working very well either. So in all of these cases, he appears to have already violated the law, and what he's doing is skirting. Well, the intent of the order was clear. Again, that's why I read so much of it. The judge was clear. There is no need to deploy any National Guard here in Portland. That's what the judge said, and then the judge blocked his deployment of the Oregon National Guard. That's what the judge did. So now he's just getting the guardsmen from California. It's utterly insane. If I were the judge, I'd hold him in contempt But technically, he's not violating the letter of what the judge has said. He's absolutely violating the spirit. He's violating what the judge wrote in his... And there's a reason they explain why they give their reasoning. It's so that you understand how and why they reach their conclusion and how the law applies to it. And he's just saying, well, screw that. I'm just going to do an end run around. So what we're going to see is essentially, in violation at least of the spirit of the restraining order, he's going to deploy the troops tonight regardless. They're going to come from California. We know one woman was shot last night. We also know in Chicago they've escalated. They had a helicopter come in and drop tear gas and some other chemical out of the helicopter and deployed it against protesters. And these protests are... It's looking like a war zone, but it only started looking like that after helicopters started flying down into the streets and deploying chemical weapons. It's looking like Vietnam, which is what he wants. So as we did with Black Lives Matter, if this escalates, which this may well, I'm concerned, we'll start covering it. Right now, it's isolated incidents of violence, and it's not, we hope it stays that way, but Trump appears to be doing his absolute best, despite the courts, to aggravate and escalate the situation as much as possible. So we'll keep you up to date, but as of this moment, despite a restraining order saying that he cannot deploy the National Guard in Portland because the order was specific to the Oregon National Guard, he is going to deploy the California Guard instead. So, and there's a good, I mean, if it said no guard, what would he do? He'd probably deploy, I don't know. At any rate, I'm going to quickly check the live chat, and then we will call it a night. Go with the flow. Member 13, Go with the Flow Farm, member for 13 months. Thank you, Nick, for your work. Thank you very much. We are looking forward to a couple of interesting projects coming up in the next couple of weeks. So please stay tuned. Do hit that like and subscribe button. And if we're at a situation where we're going to start covering the, we know Mercado and Chungus, both friends of the show, are covering it. They've, I've been enjoying watching their coverage and enjoying watching their gaming. Pro tip: don't ask Chungus how you're doing. Chungus is a really nice guy. He's very upbeat. When the helicopter is literally flying upside down and smoke coming from the engine because it's been shot, and the pilot's like, "How am I doing? Chungus is like, "You're doing great. Everything's fine." All right. You need cheering up, ask Chungus. You need a reality check. Chungus is not your guy. So anyways, they've been doing great jobs. And my understanding is Mercado is there. We may talk to him and see if we can live stream from him. But we're setting up, basically, we're going to have the same as same setup that we did for Black Lives Matter. So if we need it, we're hoping we don't. Expect more suits tomorrow. Thank you all for joining us. New member Jester, thank you so much for joining. We really do appreciate it. All the members help, so thank you very much for that. And let me see where we can send a raid, because I would like to send a raid. The last I saw for raiding, the only it's we're going to do Kid Not Kin, who is talking about this very issue. So good luck. Thank you all. And we look forward to talking to you soon. Have a good night.